some critics say that the Supreme Court only ruled on the technicality, not really the merits of the case. So some people are wondering, how will the Vice President explain all these allegations, misuse of confidential funds? And the Vice President did say she will address it in the proper forum. What was she alluding to exactly in proper forum?
I'll start with the comments na it's really on a mere technicality. I just wanted to qualify that. It's a procedural aspect, but we shouldn't sort of say technicality in a way na nagkulang lang ng pirma sa papel or something like that, because the technicality that we're talking about here is the one-year bar, which is actually enshrined in the Constitution. No? It's part of the same article as the impeachment. But having said that, that's also the reason why in previous interviews, when I'm being asked, do you feel like vindicated or victorious, I was always consistent in saying that's probably not the right term. Because when we talk about vindication, you talk about the merits of the case. And aminin natin, wala pa tayo dun. No? So it's really the procedural aspect. Now, in terms of the proper forum comment, it's being actually addressed now. For example, the DOJ case, yung grave threat na nasa articles of impeachment, meron ding kaso na reklamo, rather, na naihain laban sa Vice Presidente, as well as inciting to sedition, which is pending with the DOJ, and we have been answering that. In fact, the Vice President even appeared when she submitted her counter affidavit. With the confidential funds, for example, there is a pending petition for review for the OVP confidential funds that is pending with the Commission Proper of COA. So we're addressing that there. And then, itong ombudsman that we just mentioned, and in fact, there was even another case, PNP filed against her, direct assault that was dismissed na. Yes, it was dismissed na sa ano naman yun, prosecutor's office sa Quezon City. So there are, and again,
there are
let's not forget,
institutions you're saying where she is
addressing these issues. But let's not forget, in terms of the impeachment, it's really just a one-year bar. Kung sakali mang hindi ma-reverse, it's a one-year bar. So if you're asking me, is it possible na magkaroon ng second round by Feb 6, 2026? That's definitely a possibility, and that's also something that we're preparing for.
I mean, Vice President Sara Duterte did say she wanted a bloodbath. Is that still her stance if this does go to the second round in February next year?
I don't want to put words into her mouth, especially now that I'm not her spokesperson anymore. But I would like to say that she has always been consistent, not just in public, but even with the legal team, that she wanted to go to trial. She always said, mag-trial na tayo. But sa amin, syempre, we had to really defend the rights of our client. And when we saw what happened in February, at least the process on how the impeachment complaint was initiated, we really felt that we had to bring it up to the Supreme Court.
Does she listen to you guys? Like, I can imagine her like conferring with 16 attorneys. Like you said, 16 attorneys equals 30 opinions. How does that dynamic work? Give us an insight without giving up too much.
And I was curious, before you answer that, attorney, you said that, sige, let's go. Did she have that frame of mind talaga in talking to the lawyers before? Yeah?
Oh, and very directly, sinabi talaga niya that she's ready to go to trial. By that time, we already also filed the Supreme Court petition. But, I mean, let's not siguro confuse the readiness to face these allegations with the willingness to be subjected to an unconstitutional process. So that's where at least the defense team is coming from. And then your question on how, I think we're forgetting that she's also a lawyer herself.
Correct.
So,
Oo nga.
it's actually...
So that's another opinion.
Yeah. Kaya nga naging 30, sabi niya kanina 20 lang. Dinagdagan ko ng 10.
But to be honest, it's been easy. Kasi, you know, when you have, with our other clients, for example, you really have to explain. But pagdating naman sa kanya, when we talk about strategy, of course, she's always consulted on strategy. She's very hands-on. So when we talk to her, yung first step mo lang, nakikita na niya kung saan ka papunta. So it hasn't been difficult, to be honest.
Is the Vice President, does the immunity from suit of the President extend to the Vice President? What is your belief, attorney?
Well, that's our theory. In fact, there is a case that we also filed sa RTC level on that. But what's certain is when it comes to, it's a case for declaratory relief that we filed, asking the court to declare that she is in fact immune from suit.
Oh, I see. When was this?
Matagal na to. This was, I think, back in December, if I'm not mistaken.
And wala pang...
Wala pa, but proceedings are ongoing.
And the OSG has, who has?
Yes, OSG is the one respondent na
Respond,
sumasagot.
okay.
But at least in terms, our position is that in terms of criminal proceedings, that will come with prescribed penalties na may accessory penalty of removal from office. Hindi pwede yun. And I think that's established na in jurisprudence kasi impeachable officer siya.
So only when those crimes, offenses are involved, na merong removal from office na
Definitely
penalty.
yon. I think that's well established. At least that's our view of jurisprudence. It's well established na pag may kasamang removal from office, hindi pwede yon because
Kasi
you will do
kumbaga
it
you're
indirectly what you
skirting
cannot
the
do
impeachment
directly.
process.
Opo, yon.
Kasi minsan may nagsasabi na,
Pero-
before we continue, di ba may nagsasabi kasi na marami naman siyang ways tanggalin, hindi lang impeachment. And I guess they're referring to those. Pero your
Or
belief
no, pwedeng
is...
makulong. I mean, if it's a non-bailable offense,
Non-bailable offense, pwedeng makulong. But if that offense, kasi pag non-bailable, usually, ano na yan above 6 years na yan, above what we call prison correctional. So that will definitely come with the accessory penalty of removal, disqualification from office, etc. So yung mga ganong offenses, at least, again, this is my view, no, from my reading of jurisprudence, hindi na pwede. And in fact, in the Supreme Court decision, the subject Supreme Court decision on the impeachment, that was reiterated by Justice Leonen, di ba? May portion doon on immunity.
so that is another dead end if the aim was to, put the vice president out of
Office.
commission. Was the word. Well, yeah, no, mali nga, out of office.
Out of office.
Or
Out of office.
even to pay for the alleged offenses that she has committed.
Well, it's not a dead end because it doesn't mean na because you cannot file a case against an impeachable officer. I would rather use this in the general sense,
Okay.
not just the vice president, because she is my client and I am an advocate. So I'd rather be neutral on that part. But
Okay.
against all impeachable officers, it doesn't mean hindi mo sila pwedeng kasuhan. Hindi mo sila pwedeng kasuhan habang nasa office sila kasi impeachable officers sila. But once they're out of office, when their term ends, for example, you can file these criminal cases naman against them in terms of accountability, I think. That's what you're driving at.
Right. But so this would disprove also that the ombudsman has been sitting on this because the allegation is that the ombudsman, the previous ombudsman, we're still looking for a new one, was an appointee of her father and so was sitting on these cases.
On the contrary, at least on the part of the defense, we didn't feel like it was being sat on because ang bilis when they filed that committee report, I think I got the news that they filed the committee report and then, if I'm not mistaken, less than a week, so a few days after, naglabas na kaagad ng order for us to file our counter affidavit. So we definitely did not get a sense that they were sitting on anything.
Okay. So yung mga delays lang is because we still don't have a new ombudsman for
I-
now, I suppose.
I can't comment on that because I also, as I've said, I have gotten information that some of the respondents also received a new order naman to submit position papers. So, in fairness to the Office of the Ombudsman, I really do not think there is any intention to delay proceedings.
Do you fear that the next ombudsman will be even harder on you?
I would like to give everyone the benefit of the doubt, and whoever it would be, I think let's give them the benefit of the doubt that they would be fair, whoever the personalities are in terms of those involved.
Do you feel, well, I'm treading on territory where you may not answer,
Yes.
but politics is really behind all of this.
We've heard all the views. It's very difficult for me to answer because I was also part of DepEd, for example. So I personally, I felt how things were. No? But I don't want to, now that we are talking about the impeachment, for example, in all these cases, I think on our part, I would rather just, pag may kaso, whatever the motive is behind it, basta sagutin lang natin yung allegations, diba? Now, if it is politically motivated or something like that, siguro iwan na lang natin sa mga kababayan natin. Everyone's been so participative. Everyone's watching, so I'm sure they have their own opinions. Iwan na lang natin siguro sa kanila.
All right, attorney. Ma'am.
Okay.
No, I think you parang, okay.
Okay, it's a nice,
Hindi, we're
we'll
being
leave it at
signaled
that.
na. Baka mag-rally na yung next show. So we
Been a
thank you
pleasure.
for being with us. That was Attorney Michael Poa, spokesman of Vice President Sara Duterte's legal team.